Military Romance Collection, 7-in-1 box set, written by Kathleen Hope, narrated by Teresa Stevens. Table of Contents. Story 1, Her Soldier Boy. Story 2, The Lieutenant's Musician. Story 3, Saving Sarah. Story 4, Into the Crossfire. Story 5, In the Place We Both Love. Story 6, Uniformed Love Triangle. Story 7, The Colonel's Baby. Table of Contents. Chapter 1, The Stranger. Chapter 2, Trust Me. Chapter 3, The Real You. Chapter 4, War is Hell. Chapter 5, Donovan. Chapter 6, December 3rd. Chapter 7, My Soldier Boy. Chapter 1, The Stranger. "There's that guy again, Reagan. Look." I looked up to see the guy Shaquana was referring to. He was the same guy who'd been coming into the coffee shop where I worked as a waitress every day. I didn't think anything of it. He was probably new in town or just passing through. He shuffled in and sat down in a booth near the window. He carried a green duffel bag that he dropped on the booth seat next to him. I figured he must be military because his green looked Army issue. I took a moment to study him. His medium brown hair was thick and in need of a haircut. Dark stubble marred his jaw, and from this far away, I couldn't tell what color his eyes were. "He's sitting in your section, Reagan, as usual." Shaquana grinned suddenly. "Why, I think you got yourself a secret admirer," she said in a fake Southern drawl. She gave the man a closer look. "Your mystery man could seriously use a shower, shave, and a haircut." I waved a hand dismissively. "It ain't even like that, Quanah. He probably isn't even thinking about me." She pursed her lips. "So explain to me why he comes here every day and sit in your section. Coincidence? I think not." I shrugged, picking up a coaster for his table. "He's probably a drifter, just passing through." "Well, go get him, girl," adding a growl like a female tiger. I grinned at her, sneaking another look at the stranger. "Might be interesting, though. God knows I could use a little excitement these days." I slowly approached the table where the man sat staring at his folded hands. He had large hands with long, slim fingers. The collar of his jacket was turned up, hiding his face from my view. "Shaquana, I should have never left you. I should have taken you with me." "But you came back," I said, smiling up at him. "I'm glad." He slipped an arm around my shoulders again. "I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I won't let you go again. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, if you'll have me." "I want you," I whispered. I leaned up and kissed him. The air instantly became charged around us, and I pressed closer to him. "What's going on?" Trenton and I pulled away from each other as Tracy came bouncing into the room. She grinned at Olivia, who went readily into her arms. She looked from me to Trenton and back. "What's going on?" He looked at me. "Maybe you should tell her." "Tell me what?" I slid an arm around his waist. "Trenton and I are back together." "So he knows?" she asked, pressing her cheek against Olivia's soft hair. "He knows," Trenton answered for me. "And he's happier than a kid in a candy store." I looked at Tracy. "I told him," I said, knowing that she'd understand. "Everything." "And how do you feel?" I grinned. "I've never felt better." She smiled, hugging the baby closer. Olivia began to whimper, and Trenton immediately took her from Tracy to cuddle her. Tracy watched, nodding. "I knew he'd be like that with her," she said approvingly. She picked up my phone from the desk. "Here, let me take a family picture." Trenton put his arm around me again, and I put my hand over his around the baby. She handed me the phone, and I looked at my family, together for the first time in 3 years. "I'm a lucky woman," I murmured. "I'm the blessed one," Trenton answered. My family. Trenton and I decided that Mama and Papa needed to be in Olivia's life, too. We hadn't talked in 3 years, and I wasn't sure what to expect. I was pretty sure they weren't even going to open the door. So I was surprised when Mama not only opened the door, but invited us inside. She and Papa sat on the sofa across from Trenton and I. The 4 of us stared at each other, no one wanting to speak first. Finally, Trenton spoke. "I want to apologize if I have done anything to offend the 2 of you. I have apologized many times to Alessandra, and have asked her forgiveness for hurting her and leaving her and my daughter alone. I want to ask your forgiveness as well, and ask for your permission to marry your daughter. I want to make things right, and Olivia needs her grandparents in her life." He paused. "I'd like to marry her." Papa and Mama looked at each other. "Alessandra," Mama said softly, "you say you're an adult now. You don't need our permission to marry him. Is that what you want?" I looked at Trenton, a smile spreading across my face. "It's what I want," I answered. Trenton nodded and knelt on the floor. I worried for a moment that he'd hurt himself again, but he seemed fine. He withdrew a small box from his pocket and opened it to reveal a beautiful diamond ring, nestled in the black velvet. "Will you marry me?" I threw my arms around him. "Yes." As he slid the ring on my finger, the air around us seemed suddenly lighter. Mama smiled and hugged me, something she hadn't done in more than 3 years. Papa tried to maintain his gruff exterior, but he smiled as Olivia tugged at his beard. Even Marco shook hands with Trenton before hugging me. Everything was now right in my world. The man I loved me back, and I was no longer afraid to tell him that I loved him. He was crazy about our daughter, and I could already see that she was going to be spoiled rotten between Trenton, Marco, and my parents. And speaking of Marco and my parents, they now understood why I loved Trenton, and that I had to live my life, though it was different from the life they'd wanted for me. And that was okay. Life was good. I had all I could ever want, and I was going to marry my colonel. The end. This has been Military Romance Collection, 7-in-1 box set, written by Kathleen Hope, narrated by Teresa Stevens, copyright 2017 by Michael Vandervoort, production copyright 2017 by Michael Vandervoort.